各位观众，大家好，欢迎收看邓洪说法节目，我是美国联邦律师邓洪，让我们知法守法，据理力争。47选区也是最重要的一次这个战区，对共和党来说这个选区至关重要。当然2个月以前我跟Scott Baugh 这位共和党的候选人认识之后也是对他的选举策略、选举理念，还有对华人社区的关系这方面呢做了多集的报道当然的话，他在这个星期我也特别在进入选举的最后2个星期，对他的一些选举议题真的这个更深度的接触。当然的话，我想今天跟大家分享一下子这位候选人的一些政见，因为47选区至关重要，在美国我们是一个3权分立，而国会议员的话扮演一个重要的角色。国会议员他代表是我们选民在 DC 在华府的话来进行审预算立法当然国会一个职责就是这个弹劾来监督政府行政机构所以如果川普当选了总统，但是他要推动很多政策，必须要由国会来配合，因为尽管你要推动减税或者是各种这个税务优惠计划这种情形都要通过国会来同意才行的。所以在现在 Mike Johnson 这个议员里边议长他是共和党现在在国会参众两院，民主党控制了参议院这个参议院至关重要，因为川普他在4年的任政期间任命了300多名法官，包括3名联邦最高法院的大法官，也是要经过参议院的审核同意才能够通过。同样的在川普头2年你可以看得出 Nancy Pelosi他是属于众议院的议长，他不断的这个发起的2波的弹劾行动，就是因为民主党控制了众议院。现在在众议院里边民主党是属于少数，但是共和党多出只有4票，所以这个4票至关重要。现在民主党集中精力要拉下2个选区的这个共和党的众议员，包括了Michelle Steele 还有 Mike Garcia 是在我们南加州的。对共和党来说，不单只要保住这2个席位，还要想办法以后拿下47选区，因为47选区已经是从2个月以前的这个民主党占多数变成了共和党占多数。当然 Scott 我们谈起来的话，就是他也很肯定我们那么多的观众朋友鼓励尔湾的华人开始这个转红登记成为了，因为这个选区里边在尔湾地区有非常多的华人，在这个选区里边一共有65000名华裔居民，在华裔居民里边的话只有登记在2个月以前只有22000的人登记，而民主党占多数，所以面临这方面的挑战的话，我们华人非常这个帮忙，我们的很多观众朋友也动员了尔湾地区的亲友或者是自己住在尔湾，也同样的开始这个想办法来帮助注册更多的华人成为选民。现在选举已经到来了，大家已经收到选票了，所以今天的话我有机会这个再预录了一场节目，跟 Scott Baugh 谈论了他的选举进展，还有他将来从政之后当选了 DC 的我们国会议员之后，他会替我们社区来做哪些事情。所以希望大家能够有机会更近距离的认识接触 Scott 鲍思豪，并且投票给鲍思豪，让我们共和党夺回这个席位，让我们共和党能够掌控众议院。谢谢大家的收看。
So my name's Scott Baugh. I'm running for U.S. Congress in the 47th Congressional District. It is the most beautiful district in the whole country. It goes from Seal Beach in the north, comes all the way down through Huntington Beach, Newport Beach, Laguna Beach. It goes inland to Costa Mesa and Irvine and gets a little bit of Laguna Hills, but it's a beautiful district, but we've had some problems coming into this district recently. There's been an increase in crime. There's been an increase in burglaries. In the country, Fashion Island had a murder in July. A poor woman was dragged to death. And last Sunday, a friend of mine was actually shot at South Coast Plaza Mall. And you have these smash and grabs going all over because California lawmakers got soft on crime. And they lowered the standard for a felony. And so you can steal anything under $1,000 and it's only a misdemeanor. And so what happens when you give the signal that we're not going to enforce crime? Well, more criminals come out, more smash and grabs happen, and they start stealing more and more. So let's talk about strong families and safe neighborhoods. You know, when I think of a safe neighborhood, where I grew up, when I was 5 years old, I actually walked home from school. And I never had to worry about anybody doing me harm or anything. My parents weren't particularly worried about it. Now, it was a short distance, it wasn't a long walk, but we need to get back to that, what we had before in this country, where it's safe in our neighborhoods so our children can be out, they can play, and they can enjoy the community and all the great parks and recreation that they have. Right now, there's too much crime. We need to get rid of that crime so we can enjoy the safe neighborhoods again. So once we get our safe neighborhoods and we have our strong families and safe neighborhoods, how do we allow them to flourish and grow and enjoy prosperity? What do we do with the business climate in this district? Well, first of all, we have to keep our taxes low. And we have to, when we keep our taxes low, it puts more money in your pocket so that you can invest and go create more jobs. We also have to keep our regulations cut back. So on the economy, we have a basic problem. Our government spends way too much money. They spend it on frivolous things. It causes inflation. They borrow money. It causes more inflation. It stifles growth because all of the money is going to pay interest on the debt. We need to make sure that government stays within its budget so that inflation stays low and families can enjoy the prosperity and the rewards of their hard work. Right now, too many families are having to make a choice between, food or going out or eating at home, and because the price of food has got so high. So we need to get inflation under control so American families can enjoy themselves together again. But we also have a problem at our southern border. We have 15 million people have come across in the last 3 or 4 years, and they brought with them drugs and sex trafficking and even some terrorism. And on the drugs, we've had fentanyl poisonings. Over 100,000 deaths per year in this country from fentanyl and other drug-related overdoses. And it's synthetic fentanyl that comes across the southern border, and it's distributed widely. And let me just say this, it's really a poison as opposed to a drug in the sense that most people don't know what they're taking. And it has 100 times the potency of morphine. And so it's a very, very dangerous drug, and I would encourage all kids, all families, stay away from this. Now, America is a very generous country. We allow over 1 million immigrants, legal immigrants, into this country every year because we love immigration and we love it when people come in from different cultures, but it has to be legal. We've had far too much illegal immigration. 15 million people in the last few years that have brought fentanyl and sex trafficking and terrorism with them. We simply need to secure our border. My philosophy is, let's have a tall fence, but a very wide gate and welcome immigrants into this country. So I'm running to preserve the American way of life, where merit and hard work and virtue reign in the day, and so families can be strong together, our neighborhoods can be safe, and we can enjoy prosperity and human flourishing together. Thank you.
Yay! Scott Baugh for Congress!
Wall Shu, Basu Ha, Ching To Wa, Ipio. I'm privileged to be able to campaign and as a person who's seeking congressional office. And the reason I'm doing it is because I think it's right, and I think I can offer a unique solution. I'm going to share something with you that forms the core of who I am. In our own Declaration of Independence, it says life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The pursuit of happiness in our Declaration means the pursuit of a virtuous life. Have you ever done something not virtuous? Maybe. You don't feel very good about it, but when you pursue virtue, you feel good. You feel like you have a purpose. And so that's my calling in politics. I think I can fix some of the problems that face America, and that's a exercise in virtue and purpose and a calling.
Yeah, for the last 10 years, been frustrated because of the homeless problem and the progress agenda, and then they changed the whole system. A lot of people are moving out away from California.
Right.
In Sacramento, right now, the Democrat, they control the Senate, they control the Assembly, they control the governor's position. Look at David Min and look at Mike Fong and all these Asians. They're not actually pursuing the Asian value. When you were Assemblyman, what kind of things you have done in Sacramento to help the minority community?
So, for example, it's like a lot of the minority communities, ethnic communities are the heart and soul of small businesses. And so we pursued policies that took regulations off their back, conformed, had a consistency between federal and state regulations, and lowered the taxes because ultimately it's hard to start a business, but if that's your calling, you should be able to do it without so much regulation. And so look what the state of California has done.
Yes.
We have so many regulations, and then we have we've spent $24 billion on trying to help the homeless, and guess what? We have more homeless because government doesn't know how to solve these problems. The American people know how to solve these problems. My faith is in the American people, not in the American government.
Okay. My daughter, 10 years ago, she had a chance to go to UCLA, but she decided to go to UC Irvine because they get one of the best medical schools and a hospital here. She was one of the best students in UC Irvine. When she applied for medical school, she even did not get a chance to be interviewed. A lot of her students, her classmates, who are not Asians, they could get in. She cried to me, Daddy, I had done everything you asked me to do. I get good grade, I volunteer, I go to City of Hope to research. I did not even have a chance to get into the school.
Yeah.
And because I'm Asian, can I change my last name? These things, it try me. I feel so sad because as immigrant, we come over here, we have a family value, as we work hard, and we could realize American dream. I don't want other family to have to go through what my daughter had gone through.
Right, right.
So if you were in the Congress, what would you do and make sure Asians are not being discriminated or excluded in the college admission, in other positions?
Sure. So first of all, let me say my heart is very sad for your daughter and for you because the reason so many people come to America is because what is the promise of America? What is the American dream? The American dream says this: if you come here and you work hard and you pursue a virtuous life, you can get ahead and live your dreams. What they were doing by discriminating against your daughter because she's Asian is the opposite of the American dream. It's the opposite of the American way of life. Instead, it's a bunch of leftists in their ivory towers trying to figure out what the best makeup of a school should be.
Yes.
And we believe in merit-based makeup. The best people should get into the schools. The best people should get the best slots. The people that work the hardest should be rewarded with those slots. And so what I would do in Congress is I would strip any university of their federal dollars, the benefits that come from the federal government, if they engage in discriminatory policies against Asians.
That's wonderful. Now, one of the things we talk about, I'm watching the premiere of Ronald Reagan, and he had a famous saying, government is not the solution to the problem. Government is the problem. Will you concur with that?
Well, that's the message I've been saying. We need limited government because I believe in the American people. I believe in anybody who wants to pursue the American dream. I don't care what ethnicity you are. If you come here, work hard, pursue a virtuous life, you can achieve the world if you want.
That's American dream I want to have our next generation to share. Thank you for standing up for our community, and I wish all our Chinese community, vote for Scott, not because David Min have an Asian face. His policy is the most progressive policy in Sacramento. And we do not want Katie Potter's clone person to be in Congress. We want someone like Scott who could fight for the community, fight for our next generation. Thank you, Scott.
Blessings. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, a lot of people have watched our video and talk about how so important the 47th district is to our country and to our residents in Irvine. Today, many people love to want us to introduce a little bit, get more closer to the candidate, Scott Baugh, and the future Congress member representing Irvine district. So today, I have an honor to have a chance to talk to Scott and get personal, get him some of the background. Scott, good morning.
Thank you, Daniel. Good morning to you.
Yes, and many of people, we know that, they know the 47th district is very important. Can you explain how important is the 47th district? I know that, Trump is running for the 47th presidential position. You are running the 47th congressional district. Tell us a little bit about the congressional district in Irvine.
Thank you, Daniel. I think it's the most beautiful district in the entire country. It's the entire coast of Orange County. It starts up in Still Beach, goes through Huntington Beach, and then down to Newport, all the way to Laguna Beach. Then it goes to inland. It goes inland to Costa Mesa and the city of Irvine.
Yeah, I think especially in Irvine, with a huge population of Asian, I think there are over 65,000 Chinese American who living in Irvine and also the coastal area. I think the population is increasing. I have a lot of friends who are doing business in Irvine, and I have a lot of friends who live in Irvine because. Yeah,
and the population did explode there. In the year 2000, there was only 140,000 residents in Irvine. Now there's over 310,000, and that's driven mostly by the Asian community.
Yes, and 10 years ago, Irvine had been a bittersweet story for me. 10 years ago, my daughter got accepted into UC Irvine. I was the happiest father. She was at the age of 16, and she got accepted in UC Irvine. She skipped one grade, and then we're so happy that she finally into college. I helped her moving into her dorm in UC Irvine. Beautiful place, very, very close to home. We live in San Marino area, so 1 hour drive. It was very sweet for us, but it was also a bitter experience for me, for my family, because my daughter worked very hard. We encourage her to volunteer. She volunteered at the different hospital in Irvine, and also she did a lot of research in City of Hope because she wanted to get into medical school. Well, she worked very hard, and she's one of the best students in campus. And rather than going on a trip in the summer, she spent hours all her time doing research because she wanted to become a doctor. But 6 years ago, it was heartbroken for our family because she came to me and said, crying, said, Daddy, why this so not fair? I scored the very high score on the medical school admission test. I did all the volunteer, but I could not even get a chance to be interviewed by UC Irvine. I have a hard time, explaining to her because I said you give the best shot. I said, but look at all my classmates who did not need an interview, and they guarantee admission in UC Irvine because they're African American and Latino. Why you should not? We have a name who's Asian. Can I have a name who's Latino? It's so unfair. It was heartbroken for us because we trained her to do the right things. We want her to do research and to excel in everything and volunteer. But I could not explain to her, and she, because
you couldn't explain the discriminatory policies against Asians.
Yes, because the school admission and UC system, as you know, that Asian are not a minority; they are model minority, and we get punished. She was crying, and I could not explain to her, why this so unfair. Because in America, I was able to fulfill my American dream. at the age of 18, I only have $200 in my pocket. My English professor sponsored me. I came over here in 1987. But within 11 years, I was able to get my degree. I got a job and I become a U.S. citizen. And also in 1998, I sworn in and become a lawyer in California. I thought, within 11 years, without any connection, I was able to make it. I was very grateful.
So Daniel, you could make it because back then,
yes,
the government did not intervene and try to dictate outcomes. The American dream was this at one time. It's been perverted by some of the government policies, but the American dream is this. If you come to this country and you work hard and you employ principles of delayed gratification, like you said, your daughter, instead of going out and playing, she would do her work and study extra hard and get the best grades. The American dream was based on meritocracy. If you did those things and you did those acts of virtue, that you could go to the highest place. And unfortunately, some people in our government, they wanted affirmative action. We tried to beat that back with Prop 209 in the state many years ago. But now they've come back in and they've tried to say, oh, we have too many Asians. Well, that's pure discrimination against Asians. We are a meritocracy. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. It doesn't matter your ethnicity. If you work hard and get the highest grade, you absolutely should get the highest slot that's available. And your daughter was actually discriminated against, even though she was the best candidate for that position. And that's what we have to eliminate in this country. And the good news is the Supreme Court has come in and said, no, you liberals cannot do that. You cannot dictate quotas and outcomes based upon what you think the diversity should be. We are a country that rewards hard work, and people who work hard and get the best scores should get the best slots.
Yeah, well, that's the reason, Scott, even though I live in the San Gabriel Valley areas, when I read that, you're running, I'm sure, and when I'm reading that you're taking on the progressive, I think, to preserve all the immigrants who, like me, who will have a chance in the United States, I think we need to help you and to win this election, because the Congress, if without the Senate majority, Trump will never be able to confront the three conservative judges. With the three justices, we're able to render a decision on June 29 last year that the Supreme Court justice ruled that Harvard and other schools should not discriminate Asians in admission. I mean, this is a landmark decision. That's the reason, to preserve this tradition and make sure our next generation have the same chance as I want to make sure that people like you who could elect it. I mean, look at what is happening right now. I was shocked, that, when I read the bill that they propose, that the freedom to react. This is not a freedom to react. I know that the people in Huntington Beach, the city hall, they passed a law saying that, we should not let all the pornography material, purchased by the library make it available for our kids, minors. But he's talking about freedom to read. They would ban the city council and the local government to pass any law to protect our children.
Right.
It bothers me. And then when he proposed and passed a law, I thought that, hey, great, voter integrity. We'll talk about trying to prevent the election fraud. But the voter integrity, when they're reading that, the same thing. Huntington Beach City Council passed that, we need to make sure that Constitution law have been followed and only American citizens be allowed to vote.
Well, Daniel, actually, the citizens of Huntington Beach passed that law through an initiative that required voter identification. And Dave Menn came in and he carried a state bill because it's all controlled by the left up in Sacramento, and they banned local communities from requiring identification to vote. And he's basically taken away the ability of Huntington Beach to determine their own destiny.
I mean, that law right now is so, I would say shock, where we have the 14th Amendment only allowing a U.S. citizen to vote in the election. And that law, by the city and the people in Huntington Beach want to make sure the law has been followed. And they're the one who summed I was shocked, they mean being a professor, a law professor, and he summed the notes and saying, nobody should check no city council, no citizens to check people who are voting. When
So
we're going to a grocery store.
Yeah, here's the interesting part about it, Daniel. The federal law requires you to be a citizen to vote.
Yes.
And the only thing Huntington Beach was doing is saying, okay, we'll show identification that
Yes.
you are a citizen. We are just fulfilling what the law already requires. But so many times there's, loose standards. And so Huntington Beach wanted to tighten that up. And so once again, the local will of the people has been thwarted by people up in Sacramento who think they know better how to live our lives than we do.
Yeah. Well, I think, when you're seeing the voting record of the man who's serving the Senate position, and he's on the far left, is, not representing, but believe me, I have a lot of friends who live in Irvine. They're not far left. They're not even moderate. They're just like me. They want to do the right thing for the children. They bought a house in Irvine because the school district was great and the community was safe. But that was 10 years ago. Look at what is happening right now, with David Ming representing as a senator. He passed the law that I don't think any of my friends who live in Irvine will agree to it. I mean, I was sharing some of the things that he had passed, that, freedom to react. That's the people could read. But the problem is that when you read the fine print, there's that freedom to read is for the minor to be able to have access to pornography and all that progressive agenda. Right. Is that something that you want your children to read? And look at it, another bill that even the Governor Newsom dare not to sign, but David Min signed for it, is that, he would allow all the middle school, high school to make condom free available for every student. Is that something our children want to do? Encourage people starting from 12 years old, 13-year-old to have sex? That's not our parents want to do.
Right. That's the government trying to, that's what progressives do. They try to pretend they know what's better than the parents. Listen, nobody knows what's best for my child than I do.
Yes.
Government will never know better. How about a child going through gender dysphoria? The bills now say that the parents do not have to be told or cannot be told about what's going on. And so think about the premise of that bill. It says the government actually knows better than the parent in giving guidance to a child that's going through confusion. And that's just nonsense. But that's Sacramento. That's the liberal mindset. The liberal mindset says this, or the progressive. I call them regressive because I don't think there's anything progressive about them. But the whole thing is they say that the government always knows better than the parent, or the government always knows better than the citizen. And I just don't believe that. We were designed to be a government of the people, by the people, for the people, not a government of the government. And so we need to restore that freedom in this country. We need to make sure that the American people get to voice their concern. John Locke said this in the very beginning, before our Constitution and Declaration was even formed. It has to be by the consent of the governed, and meaning that the people are paramount. The people's will is paramount. And what the progressive, regressive folks want to do is say, we know better than the people. And that's just wrong. So whether it comes to discrimination against Asians in admission policies, the government says they know better. I say, phooey. I say the person who does the best job and studies the hardest and gets the best grade should get the top slot.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that I want you to, you have been a very successful lawyer. I know that, the legal community knows that, but I think that you give up your law practice and go for politics. Share us a little background why you want to go into politics.
Well, Daniel, we are robbing from our kids' generation and our grandkids. Basically, this generation has consumed so much money. We have $35 trillion in debt. We have open borders. We have runaway crime. And it's all brought to you by progressive policies that, like Dave Min wants. He doesn't believe in enforcing the criminal statutes. He believes in zero cash bail. Let every criminal out of jail. And he also believes in suppressing their records, so you don't know whether somebody coming into your house has a felony conviction. He believes in open borders. And We've had fentanyl deaths over 100,000 a year from opioids coming across the southern border. And we need to stop that in order to protect our own people. But the progressives, they don't want to do that. So I'm running to make sure we secure our border. And Daniel, you know this. The American people are very generous. We embrace immigration. We love immigrants, but it has to be legal immigration, not illegal immigration. And with we allow over 1 million new green cards a year into this country, allowing people to come in and pursue the American dream. But the policies of open border people like Dave Min, they just believe anybody can come across here. And then there's a tremendous cost to the taxpayer and the people who came here legitimately and the right way through the proper channels, through the honest channels. And so I'm running to make sure we secure our border, we enforce our criminal statutes, and we get our debt under control so our kids can have the American dream. We have to preserve the American way of life. We have to preserve the American dream. That's our duty.
Yeah. Many people would think that, well, I'm living in Irvine and I'm not, Irvine is a safest place. And even the Irvine right now would get a cyber truck as a patrol car. We're wealthy and we do not, these things will stay the same no matter who will be in the city, in DC or Sacramento. Will you agree to that?
I didn't understand.
Well, a lot of people thought that, hey, Irvine is safest place already. And, why, let's keep the status quo. And why should we change somebody who in Sacramento or in DC? Well, but I think there's a crisis going on.
Yeah, sure. Let me answer the question. Irvine was the safest large city in the country for many years in a row for its size of city. The problem is when Prop 47 passed, that was a soft on crime initiative. And it lowered the standard for the enforcement of these thefts that were going on. It gave a green light to all of these criminals out there that says, go ahead and go down and rob and steal and do smash and grabs, and the law enforcement will not prosecute you. So when you tell criminals that you're not going to get prosecuted for bad behavior, what does it do? It encourages them to do a lot more bad behavior. And so we've had all these smash and grabs. And so when people think it's safe, yeah, it was safe. It's less safe now. I want strong families and safe families, strong neighborhoods. Basically, what we need to do is enforce these criminal statutes. Prop 36 is on the ballot that strengthens some of the things that were weakened by Prop 47. And we had a smash and grab in Fashion Island. You know where Fashion Island is?
Yes.
You talk about one of the safest places in the world to shop. We had a woman there that was subject to a smash and grabs, and they fought back, and she ended up getting murdered. She got run over and dragged by a car. And in South Coast Plaza, another safe place to shop, we had a smash and grab gone awry there, and a friend of mine got shot in the leg and the arm. Spectrum, we've seen the Spectrum right in the heart of Irvine. We've seen smash and grabs go there. So the whole point is, these soft on crime policies are making our neighborhoods much less safe. They're making our communities less safe. And they're a direct result of the soft on crime policies of people like Dave Min.
Well, many of the people, especially like Dave Min, he would they package well. They know how to do deceiving advertising. Just like what he packaged, voter integrity. Basically, they allow illegals to vote. And just like a freedom to read, they did not tell you that. It's as a parent, I would never allow my kids to have the freedom to read pornography. But they're packaged well. And now they're saying that, hey, vote for me. I look like you. I'm Asians.
By the way, Daniel, that offends me.
Yeah.
I'll tell you
how would you respond to that?
Dave Min's policy or his position is, vote for me, you Asian folks, because I am Asian and I look like you. That is so offensive. I'll tell you what I do. I say, people of Asian descent, vote for me because my heart is with you. My mind is with you. I want you to have freedom. I don't want you to experience discrimination. What Dave Min says is a discriminatory policy. He says, do it because you're Asian, and that's the wrong reason to do it. You should vote for people who are going to bring you the most freedom to pursue your family, your future, the way you want to do it, to live your life the way you want to live your life, to go to the best school if you study hard, but Dave Ben's policies are to discriminate. And I just think he's a race baiting type of a candidate that uses race to try to get leverage. I don't believe in using race or class to create wedges. I believe in uniting people together based upon common principles that work for everybody. And what is that common principle? It's get government out of the way so we can be free to live our lives.
Well, one of the things that, he's trying to make an issue is that some of the sign being vandalized and they're claiming that, it's anti-Asians. I have a lot of friends who live in Irvine and they feel comfortable, because all the race get along. We have talking about Arabic, we're talking about Latino neighbors, and my friends who live in Irvine, they feel this is a wonderful place. That's what America all about. But he's trying to make a sign saying that is anti-Asians. Would you if you get elected, how would you do to make sure there's no anti-Asian or anti-any ethnic group,
that's an easy question, Daniel. I think any anti-Asian speech is anti-American speech. I think any anti-Semitic speech is anti-American speech. We need to make sure that this discrimination that exists out there doesn't happen and doesn't get a foothold. You need to condemn it when you see it. And for the destruction of signs, we have our signs stolen all the time. If he had signs destroyed, that's wrong. That's a crime. People should not ever destroy signs, and certainly they should not put anti-Asian epithets on the signs. But that's anti-American. That's hate, and there's no room for it in our campaign, or should there be any room for it in our community. But you're right. We have a very diverse community. I mean, I'm out in Irvine in particular all the time. You have the Chinese community, a lot of different groups. You have the Korean communities, the Vietnamese community. Of course, you have the Jewish community and the Persian community and the Palestinian community and the Hindu community and even the Filipino community. So it's a wonderfully and beautiful, diverse city that tolerates a lot of diversity, and that we need to continue to encourage that.
Yeah, I think, for the last, about 2 months ago, I have a chance to meet and talk to Scott. And at that time, we're a little bit concerned because the 47th district is a purple district, and Democrat have more, registered voter than the Republican registered voter. But I think we get some good news from us. All right, Scott, share that with us.
Well, just this week, 2 years ago, the Democrats had a 7,668 voter registration advantage over the Republicans. As of this week, the Republicans took over the lead on registration, and now they're about 150 or 60 votes ahead. So it's really really close, but Republicans are now technically in the lead on voter registration.
Well, I think 2 years ago, when you're running against Katie Porter, you were 8,000 votes short, right?
Right.
Yes. But at that race, the Democrat pumped in like $30 million to fight you.
That's right. They outspent me 9-1. They had 30 million. I had 3 million, and they had a lot more registered voters. And we've changed all that. I have more money this year. They still are outspending me, but it won't be 9-1. It might be 2-1 or something like that. But I think the American people and the people of this district, their voice is going to be heard. They do not want lax enforcement of the criminal statutes. They do not want our open borders, and they want us to get our debt under control.
I think the red wave is coming for this year, but at the same time, we had to be, have focus on getting our voter and resident out to vote. I know that, Speaker Mike Johnson was here last week, right? It was a couple of days ago.
Yeah, Monday.
To come out to because, as you know, the Speaker of the House is a very powerful person, and he knows that this 47th district is so important to the House of Representatives. I think many a couple of days ago, I attending a rally. It was hosted by a Chinese American, Jason. A huge population, and we can see you're getting a lot of support from Asian community. I think one of the things that I want to hear from you, that if you get elected, how will you address some of the concern that Chinese American or Asian American living in your district?
Well, first of all, you should know that you could tell by my presence in the community that I'm constantly out in the community, in the Asian community, listening to the concerns of the Asian community. And in particular, what you brought up to me about discrimination in education. And just because the Supreme Court has ruled that that's illegal doesn't mean people still won't try to implement it. So we need to be diligent to make sure that Asians aren't discriminated against with our government policies. But most importantly, Daniel, here's what I believe. I believe that there is so much talent in the Asian community that there's no problem that they can't solve. But I don't really look at them as Asians per se. I look at them as American dreamers, people who come to this country to live the American dream. And there's so much talent there that there's no problem that we have that we cannot solve. We just have to get government out of the way. And my best promise to you is that I will get the regulations off your back. I'll get the taxes out of your pocketbooks. And what we'll do is we'll leave more money and more freedom for you to go start your business, to explore, and to do what you want to preserve your own happiness. Because bear in mind, the role of government is to preserve rights that government doesn't give you. In other words, it says it in our Declaration, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted. So understand, the purpose of government is to protect rights that government does not give you. And so that's my commitment to the Asian community and to all Americans, that we will make sure that we preserve your rights that you have to live your life in freedom and in a meritocracy. And if you work hard and you have delayed gratification, you should be able to get ahead. And that is the American dream. And I'm running to preserve the American way of life and the American dream for people of all races.
That's right. I mean, that's what we were hoping for, because that's the reason many of my friends share the same philosophy. When I came from China, in 1987, I know that at that in China, growing up poor, doesn't have a connection, a guanxi, we were never able to excel. But only in America, I was offering opportunity. As you work hard, you could realize the American dream. You could buy a house. I mean, I was, less than 15 years, I was able to buy into a San Marino house where 40 years ago in San Marino, there's a city ordinance saying that no house would be sold for Chinese. But I think, we're able to break that into, become history already. In 1882, there was a Chinese Exclusion Act. But I think, they're only excluding Chinese, and those kind of things. When we're looking back, I think we have advanced a lot. In 1964, the Civil Rights Act, and then Vincent Chen's case, people start realizing it. Chinese American need to be identified as American first. We should not be outsider.
It's alarming to me that just a few short years ago there were discriminatory ordinances on the books, and that's the type of thing that we need to be diligent for, to remove all of that and to make sure that the government itself is not sponsoring discrimination. And so when we get the government out of the way, the American people are kind, they're generous to each other, whether you're of Asian descent or European descent or whatever. If you get government out of the way, there's so much harmony there, and people work together, because we have what's called enlightened self-interest. And it's like, I'm going to hire the best person. If they're Chinese, I want to hire them because they're the best person. And I'm not going to discriminate. And that's what we need to allow to flourish in our country.
I remember 12 years ago, there's while you were still in the Senate, there's a lot of progressive and even Asian candidates pushing it. They want to identify among the Asian community, who are these? Korean American, Chinese American, or Cambodian American, and all that. They're trying to divide our community rather than work together and bring everybody together.
Right. It's perfectly appropriate to be proud of your heritage and your descent. But at the end of the day, we are all Americans. We are here trying to do our best for our families. And the best way for us to all live in harmony is to have government get out of the way, for the government to not promote discriminatory policies, and then let the American people of all descents, of all ethnicities, do what they want to do, because it's the pursuit of happiness that is promised to us in our Declaration. And that really is the pursuit of a virtuous life, because the only way to be happy is to pursue virtue.
Well, I know that, the election is 2 weeks away. The poll for Damien is not good, because he's DUI. He was arrested and charged and convicted of drunk driving. I think that his criminal record impact his elections. A lot of people show that, a lot of people saying that, I don't want my kids to look up to somebody who's convicted, not absorbing the law. How's your campaign going, and what is the last word you would like to tell our viewers?
Well, first of all, Daniel, thank you for having me on. Thank you for allowing me to express my views. And I look forward to the privilege of representing you, the Asian community, all communities in Irvine and the entire district. But you're right. Dave Minton had a DUI. He was driving drunk at twice the legal limit, went through a red light at night with no headlights on in a state vehicle. And he was convicted for that crime. And in fact, he's the only convicted criminal running in Congress, or for Congress, I think, in the whole country right now. And I think he's deceptive in the way he advertises and the way he couches things. And so I'm pretty straightforward. I just, I look at you, look into the camera, and tell you this. My goal here is to secure the border, to stop the flow of fentanyl, illegal drugs, illegal sex and prostitution, and terrorism. My goal is to enforce the criminal statutes so our neighborhoods are more safe. My goal is to make sure that we restrict and we're more disciplined in some of our spending, so that we are not giving our children and our grandchildren a big pile of debt that they can't manage. Because the more debt that we acquire, the fewer freedoms and opportunities that our children and grandchildren will have. And the final point is, I want to ban members of Congress from trading stocks. I think that it's terribly unfair that members of Congress get inside information and then they go out and they play in the stock market and they get rich from that. It's unfair to the average American out there that doesn't have access to that, and they're out there working hard trying to make ends meet. Meanwhile, the congressmen and women are they're acting like they're elitist and entitled, and they should be able to get rich because they're up here. And I say, no, you should be down with the people and live by the same rules that the people have to live by.
Yes, that's wonderful. And also, Scott, I want to encourage everybody, to vote for Scott. And this week, I have taped a voter guide for Orange County, Irvine area with Saka. And I think, if any viewer who would like to know how to vote, I think it's important. And at the same time, also, I including a video clip that, we tape that different Chinese representative, Chinese American representative, question and brainstorm with Scott about the future of our community. And after the interview, I will play that for you, and it's bilingual. I have Chinese subtitle as well, so hopefully people get to know Scott well, and also would vote for Scott Baugh. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Daniel, very much. Good to be with you.
Thanks.